we've we've been an active member in the community, and we're a local California company. We build our product in San Leandro, California. We design and build it here in California. So without further ado, I'm going to do a presentation on our history in the EV charging space, energy storage space, as well as what our new product, the Boost Charger, is, which I'm really excited to introduce to you guys. So without further ado, so hold on. So yeah, just a little history on us. Just like every company in electric vehicle space, we were originally a startup company. Back in 2014 is when the company was founded. And a lot of you might know about us from our Mobi product. So back in 2014, just a little history on that. So we're in the Bay Area, and in our backyard, there's all these tech companies like Google, LinkedIn, Netflix, Microsoft. And they started offering, as like an employee perk, they offer all these great perks for their employees. They started offering free electric vehicle charging if you drove an EV. It was kind of like a feel-good story, and encourage people to drive electric vehicles to work. But what happened was everyone started, all the employees, all the tech workers started buying Tesla Model S's and Nissan Leafs, because that was what was available back in 2014. They all started buying them, and they started buying so many of them that these tech campuses that installed typically charge point chargers. This is a picture one on the left there. They couldn't install level 2 chargers fast enough. All of a sudden, their utility panel was totally maxed out, and just these parking lots are extremely packed as is. To do a construction project to install more chargers just wasn't feasible. So we came up with this idea called the Mobi. It's a mobile battery. So this is what it looks like, and you might have seen it before at the clean tech trade shows, or you have them in maybe University of California, Davis owns these as well. But this is what it looks like. It's a mobile battery. It's 80 kilowatt hour battery, and it's mobile. When I say it's mobile, you see picture number 2. You can actually drive. It has its own drivetrain. It goes 4 miles per hour. You can control it with remote. So what our sell to these tech companies was, you could literally drop this in their parking lot overnight. If they bought this Mobi charger, they could drop it in their parking lot overnight. When the employees, the way it works at the tech campuses for workplace charging, the employees get there at around 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. They plug into the existing chargers that are there, the existing charge point chargers, and charge their vehicle during the day. If they can't get a spot, in this picture number 1, you'll see in the back row there, those are all EVs parked, and there's no charger there. So the way our system works is at 5 p.m., the employees leave. So these charge point chargers become available. That's when we plug our battery in. The Mobi gets plugged in, and it recharges overnight. So it uses that existing infrastructure and refuels overnight. And it's done charging in about 10 hours. So around like 6 a.m., it's done charging. And then the Freewire attendant, these employers actually have a Freewire attendant on their site that their job is to manage the fleet of Mobis that are owned by the customer. So the Freewire attendant gets there around 8 o'clock in the morning, unhooks it from the charge point charger, and then these employees that arrive around 9:30 who can't get a charging station, they park their car in somewhere else in the parking lot, a designated area in the parking lot, and they request a charge on the Freewire app. The Freewire attendant, in picture number 2, they get that notification, and then they drive the Mobi over to those vehicles and provide a charging session to them. And it was kind of a niche application for us, but we got a lot of momentum in the Bay Area. There's a lot of demand, especially pre-pandemic, because there were just so many electric vehicles being sold in the Bay Area, and these tech companies, they need to offer this perk to their employees. So we really grew the business. We started selling them worldwide, actually. Most of them are in California, but we started selling them worldwide, and we started gaining a lot of traction. It did 2 really good things for Freewire. It allowed us to scale the company up, allowed us to build a manufacturing team that manufactures this product, and allowed us to build a service team to service this product. So we have a really good manufacturing and service team, and we were able to slowly scale that with the growth of electric vehicle adoption and our product. So we sold some pretty big names, Google, Netflix, LinkedIn, Microsoft, to name a few, and we really scaled the business. To date, we've sold over 200 of these units, and we've deployed 13 megawatt hours. So we actually deployed a lot of storage. because each one of our systems is 80 kilowatt hours each. So go back to our time frame. So in 2018, BP approached us and they said, Freewire, we find, BP, they're the gas company, and they own a lot of Arco stations as a BP brand, and BP, British Petroleum, they have a lot of gas stations in the UK. And they approached us at Freewire, we really dig your Mobi product, but we have a different use case, and we want to use your technology for it. So this is what they approached us about. They said they had this use case in the UK predominantly. They have all these gas stations, petrol stations, that don't have enough utility infrastructure to support high power DC fast charging. Typically, you need 480 volt service to support DC fast charging, and they just don't have that at these petrol sites. So they asked Freewire, they asked us if we could modify our Mobi. And this is what it looks like right here. So we did this pilot in Hammersmith, UK in 2018, where we modified the Mobi. And instead of doing AC power output to do level 2 charges to vehicles, we are now doing, on this pilot, in these prototype units, we're doing DC fast charging off the Mobi to the vehicles. And we did a pilot in 2018, July 2018, in Hammersmith, UK at a BP station. This site didn't have much power. It had residential, we call it residential service, 200 volts, 400 amps, not enough power to support DC fast charging, but we had enough power to slowly charge these Mobi units. And we also disabled, just keep in mind, we disabled the drivetrain. So we delivered these units, we put them in place, and then we disabled the drivetrain. So they're no longer mobile. But the way it works is we slowly charge the Mobi at 5 kilowatts. And then when the EV driver comes, the Nissan Leaf or the Tesla Model S driver, we do a high power 50 kilowatt charge to the vehicle. And that high power event happens at the battery level. The grid doesn't see that. So what it enabled BP, this site right here, which they couldn't install. They got quoted from their local utility. It would have taken them 2 years to bring in power to this site. And we were able just to drop in overnight, drop in our Mobi chargers and do the same thing, do that high power, allow them to put high power chargers in at this petrol site. It proved to be a solution. So BP invested in our company, and so did a company called ABB. They're a big DC fast charger manufacturer. And it's all to solve a solution to this application, these low infrastructure, these areas where there's low infrastructure, low utility infrastructure, but you need high power DC fast charging. So they invested in us, ABB invested in us, and this is what we came up with. This is the product we designed. It's called the Boost Charger. I'm really excited to introduce this to Sacramento Clean Cities. This is how it works. So it's no longer a mobile charger. It's unlike the Mobi, this charger is not really mobile. It's a massive battery system. So the bottom half of it is a battery cube, an energy cube. It's a 160 kilowatt hour battery. So it's a huge battery. And the way it works is you slowly charge this battery up. But when then an EV comes by, we do a very high power charge. We call it ultra fast charge, 120 kilowatts to the EV. And it allows you to install DC fast charging in sites where you do not have much power. It's larger in the Boost Charger, because it has that large battery system in there. It weighs 3,800 pounds, and it's fully UL certified. It has more UL certs than any DC fast charger on the market today, and that's because we also have UL certs for the battery component of the charger. So our big selling point for this charger is to find locations where it costs a lot of money to install a DC fast charger. So typically, and some people on this line, they might be familiar with installing a DC fast charger. The typical process is you have to call look above on this top side, this top half right here. To install a DC fast charger, you usually have to upgrade the utility service. So you have to call, if you're in Sacramento, you call SMUD or PG&E, and you upgrade the utility service to 6 kVA to 21 kVA. Have them do that's a long process, and then you got to step that down to 480 volt power. That's what you need to support DC fast charging. With 480 volt transformer, you need a new panel. With the panel, you need a AC to DC power cabinet, and finally you have your charging pedestal. At some sites, this could cost, this could easily cost, you know, $250,000 to do. We've seen some sites where it costs $250,000 to install. Meanwhile, the Freewire solution, what my advice to customers is keep everything existing. Keep your existing service. So your existing low voltage service, keep that intact. Keep your existing transformer. Keep your existing panel. Just put in a breaker to support the boost charger on your existing panel, whatever that is, and then install the boost charger. So with the Freewire solution, you do not need to do this heavy utility infrastructure upgrade to service it. So this is our biggest value prop for our product. Another benefit of having low infrastructure is if you have a lease location. So some of you might have lease locations when, you know, what you don't want to do at a lease location is invest a lot of money in the infrastructure to support DC fast charging. So the boost charger, you know, we have a low install cost with our charger. Our charger is a little bit more expensive than the competitor, you know, non-battery integrated charger. But what's great about this, if you have a lease location, is when your lease is up and you're moving to your new site, you can just pick the charger up, the boost charger up, and bring it to your new facility and easily install it at your new facility. So if you have a lease location, this is a really good option to look at. Level 2 replacement. This might interest some of you. So we've done this for a few customers already. They have this location right here. This is an old level 2 charger that was no longer in operation, and the customer wanted to replace it with a DC fast charger, and we supported them with that. They bought our charger to replace it with that. So they unassembled, or they uninstalled this level 2 charger, but they already had this conduit down, this conduit that led to a power panel. And the way it worked is we uninstalled the level 2 charger. We have a stencil that we ship with the boost charger. They put the stencil down. They marked where the bolts would need to be done. They ran new cabling, new copper through that conduit because it led back to a 3-phase 208 panel. They uncrated the boost charger. They lowered it down. They connected that that copper to the terminal block inside the boost charger. And within 3 hours, they had this DC fast charger, this high power, ultra fast, 120 kilowatt DC fast charger installed at their location. So this might be interest to you. You can actually replace a level 2 charger very easily with a boost charger. So our biggest selling point is just a low infrastructure cost of the boost charger. The second is peak shaving, demand charges. So I know SMUD, PG&E, they have demand charges. And what that means is the utility charges you per kilowatt over your average demand. So if your average demand is 20 kilowatts and you consume 21 kilowatts, the utility like PG&E or SMUD, they can charge you $20 per kilowatt on your bill, on your monthly bill. With the problem that people are seeing with ultra fast charging, high power charging, is that it's very high power. So you're adding 100 kilowatts to your average demand, and that can be very costly. If it's $30 per kilowatt, that one charging session per month can be $3,000. So with the boost charger, the way it works is we're slowly charging our battery, and then we do the high power off of the battery to the vehicle, and we do the charging session. So we're effectively doing peak shaving, and this allows. So if you install a boost charger, you won't see the demand charge that you'll see with your conventional DC fast charger. One concern we get from a lot of customers is the daily operating. Now, because we're slowly charging our battery and then we're doing high power off the battery, there is a delta. There's a power delta. There could be a period of time when you deplete the boost battery, and customers ask, like, what happens? What does that mean? And this is the answer I usually give to them. We usually model it out for them based on their use case. But the answer is that the battery is so large in the boost charger that it's gonna be very rare you run into a situation where you deplete the boost charger battery. In this example right here, we do 19 charging sessions in the day. those charging sessions are 25 kilowatt hours, which are rather large charging sessions. 25 kilowatt hours will bring most vehicles from 20% to 80% state of charge. In this example, we modeled out over a 24-hour period. It's 19 charging sessions. This blue line, that represents the boost charger battery. So you'll see early in the day, this gray line represents a 25 kilowatt hour charging session. So you see when a charging session happens, the battery and the boost does deplete a little bit. It goes from 160 to 140, but then there's a period of inactivity. During that period that we call it idle time, the inactivity, the boost charger climbs its way back up to 160, but then it sees another charging session and it dips back down. But it's always kind of fluctuating at the high 90% range of state of charge on the battery. But then you got between 7 and 9, we're going to start seeing, that's heavy utilization periods. It's when people are fueling their vehicle to go to work in the morning, for example. And we're going to see back-to-back charging sessions. You're going to see charging sessions one after the other. When that happens, the boost charger does deplete a little bit. It goes down to 40 kilowatt hours. You can see right here. But even during that 2 hours of high utilization, it doesn't deplete fully at all. And then you'll see over the course of the day, there's idle time where the boost charger climbs its way back up to 100% state of charge. So we have customers that have concerns that the boost charger can't support their vehicles, and what we do is we model it out for them. And what we've experienced is that the boost charger, because it has a large battery inside it, it doesn't get depleted. It works out for majority of the applications that we're talking with. It's more than enough. Time and space. This is a big one. Another big value prop for us is that we can quickly install the boost charger. It is a large unit. It does have that battery integrated inside it, that large battery system inside it, but it's all one form factor. So when you buy a boost charger, you see this picture on the left, everything's inside there. Because we have that battery component, we can use smaller power electronics to do that high power charging. And you compare that to your typical, this picture on the right is your typical DC fast charger. It's a huge footprint. You look at, there's a 480 volt transformer, there's a new panel, and then you have these big AC to DC boxes. Then you got to trench that over to these pedestals, and it's just a big footprint. And these two chargers do the exact same thing. 120 kilowatt power to the vehicle. But the boost charger is just much easier to install. Like this is a complicated construction project essentially. PG&E does definitely have to get involved in this, and yeah, it takes up a lot of time to install this. It could easily take a year. This site took 2 years to install, start to finish. Where the boost charger, everything's inside this one unit. It's just a much smaller footprint, so much easier to install. So so we are deploying these units in California right now. There's a few in stock. The closest one to SAC right now are in Lodi, California. This is one of the first locations. This is an ampm station in Lodi, California. ampm or ARCO is owned by BP, and they installed it. This is one of the very first sites installed last August. The site, this is what it looks like. You can feel free to visit it. It's a great charging experience. You can see that the boost charger has a large screen on it, which is quite a nice experience. And this site was super easy to install. Behind it is a car wash. So they already had 208 volt 3-phase power to support that car wash. We simply just added another breaker to that panel to power the boost charger. We put this concrete pad down. You notice there's an opening in the front of it. It's ADA compliant, and yeah, it was just a really easy install to install at the site. This is our very first one. Super easy to install. And we run, this site, the boost charger is what they call OCPP compliant. It can run different charging softwares. It can run this site right here. They chose to run EV Connect as their software provider. This is another location. I briefed on it earlier. This is done by a utility in Oklahoma. They had these relic level 2 chargers that they wanted to replace with a boost charger. And that's what they did at this site right here. They uninstalled this level 2 charger and replaced it with a boost charger. And people use this site, people use this charger. It's a free charger to the public. It's in Oklahoma, and they've offered it as free to use for the public. So it gets a very high utilization, and it's turned out to be a great site. Here's another site in Oklahoma as well. This is at the airport, at the Tulsa airport. Super easy to install. They did a little demo work here to so they could run the conduit underneath the boost charger. But yeah, it's in a parking garage location, and it runs on 208 volt 3-phase. It's a super easy install. And furthermore, this is what we call a greenfield site at the Oklahoma Aquarium. They trenched. There was another easy install. They had 240 volt, residential service at this building. They trenched through this grass to this spot right here. They put a concrete pad down, lowered the boost charger onto it, connected it to the power, and they're up and running. So another super easy install. You're going to start seeing more of these installs in California. The boost charger was launched last August, and we've been deploying them weekly. And there's already sites in Stockton that have it, and you'll see some sites in Rockland, Roseville that will get the boost chargers installed as well. Most of these sites are gas stations, but you're going to see them in different locations, in fleet environments as well. So yeah, in summary, you get high power at a low price, much lower energy bill, super easy installation, and it's a much smaller footprint than your traditional DC fast charger. So that's my product in a nutshell, and I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to talk in your webinar.